Hello and welcome to the program, UFO Warning. In this episode, we're talking about UFO sightings over New York. That's correct, UFO sightings over New York. I found these over at Nuforc.org. As always, a great place to go find these sightings that people post. This first one happened on March 14th, 2026, 1:15 a.m. Lasted about 5 seconds. One observer located in New York, New York. Shape cross or X shape, it says. Color gray or transparent. Size 20 to 40 foot wingspan. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer east northeast. Angle of elevation 12 degrees. Closest distance about 4/10 of a mile. Estimated speed less than 100 miles per hour. I think it might have been a drone. Well, let's have a look. Characteristic lights on object changed color. A silent illuminated craft was observed at low altitude, disappearing behind a building and not re-emerging. At first, it appeared to be a small plane heading toward the building at 10 Hudson Yards. However, it moved around or behind a building and was not seen again. The object was more brightly illuminated than a typical aircraft, and its body appeared to be either cross-shaped or X-shaped, somewhat resembling hummingbird wings. It was flying at approximately 3/4 the height of the building, but it did not reappear on the other side. There was no sound. The observer's window was open. It did not resemble a plane or helicopter, nor a quadcopter due to the lack of sound, and it appeared significantly larger than a typical hobbyist drone. Yeah, I mean, the drones that I've seen make a ton of noise. The body looked almost transparent and illuminated, similar to lucite. The lights were white, green, red, and possibly blue. They were steady, not flashing. The sighting was observed through a small bathroom window, limiting the field of view. The object suddenly came into view, startling the observer due to its trajectory and low altitude, and then disappeared within 3 to 5 seconds. Yeah, it's almost like this thing's just hanging around there surveilling the situation or something. The fact that it doesn't make any noise and the size of it, 20 to 40 foot, that does not sound like a hobbyist drone to me. I mean, think about that. That's bigger than a car. I mean, flying around at that low level of height like this in this congested urban area. Very strange. This sighting happened on January 9th, 2026, 3 a.m. local time. Duration unknown. Observers 1. Saugerties, New York. It's Saugerties. Location details observed from bed while looking out the window. Shape orb, color orange. Estimated size unknown. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer 120 degrees southeast. Angle of elevation 7 degrees. Closest distance unknown. Estimated speed stationary. The observer was awakened by an extremely bright light coming through the bedroom window at approximately 3 a.m. on January 9th, 2026. Exact time uncertain. The light was intense enough to wake the observer from sleep. Upon looking out the window, the observer saw what appeared to be a bright orange orb in the sky. The object remained completely stationary and showed no movement. Its brightness was extraordinary, comparable to the intensity of looking at the sun. Due to the darkness and lack of referenced points, the observer was unable to determine the object's size or distance. The object maintained a consistent orange color throughout the observation. There was no sound associated with it, and no movement, flashing, or change in appearance was noted. After briefly observing the object, the observer returned to sleep. I guess wake up and see an orb and watch it for a little bit and go back to sleep. Yeah, I have seen one of these orange orbs before. They're cool. I mean, the one I saw was maybe a little smaller than a bowling ball, just rising right up over the car I was in. I looked up and just out of nowhere, there the thing was, almost like a ball of flame or something. I can assure you it was not a Chinese lantern. Very, very weird. Don't know. The sighting is dated December 25th, 2025. It says duration a few seconds. Happened at 10:10 p.m. Observers 1, location East Islip, New York. Location details backyard of a residence. Shaped triangle, color dark, possibly black, viewed from land, elevation 45 degrees. Characteristic lights on object, animals reacted. A dark, triangular-shaped object with 3 dimly lit lights at its corners was observed moving across the sky. While taking the dogs outside, the observer was looking at the stars and noticed 3 faint lights moving from the northeast to the southwest. The object moved quickly, but remained visible long enough to be tracked for a few seconds before disappearing from view. There was no sound associated with the object. The body itself appeared to be black or very dark, blending into the nighttime sky. Wow. Another one of these camouflage black triangles, just hovering there. This sighting is dated December 13th, 2025, 3:30 a.m. local time. Duration approximately 2 to 3 hours. Observers 2. Location Montauk, New York. Man, it seems like I remember some strange stories out of that place. Location details: Heather Hills Scenic Overlook, facing east-southeast toward Montauk Point. Shape orb, color orange, size unknown, viewed from land, direction from viewer east-southeast, angle of elevation 45 degrees. Closest distance very far away, several thousand yards. Estimated speed variable, fast and slow. Characteristics or haze around object. Between approximately 50 and 100 orange orbs of light were observed appearing, moving, and disappearing repeatedly in the sky. While looking toward Montauk Point from the Heather Hills Scenic Overlook, the observer and their spouse witnessed numerous orange orbs appearing one after another. At times, several appeared simultaneously, moving erratically and dancing across the sky at an elevation of about 45 degrees. Their motion included side-to-side drifting as well as descending movements resembling falling leaves. Each orb would either hover briefly before abruptly changing direction and darting away, or slowly descend before fading out. Some orbs appeared to split into 2 or 3 separate lights, which then traveled in different directions. The phenomena continued for approximately 2 to 3 hours, beginning around 3 or 3:30 a.m. Throughout the experience, both observers reported a persistent, uneasy feeling, as though they were being watched. Despite this, they remained focused on the lights. Several photos were taken, however, the object appeared only the star-like points in the images. Notably, their positions differed between photos, indicating movement. The observer also checked a flight tracking application and did not find any aircraft in the area consistent with what was observed. Both witnesses were left genuinely perplexed by the experience. The observer hopes that others may have seen similar activity in the area around the same time, noting that the event felt almost dreamlike and seeking confirmation that it was real. That's a normal reaction. A lot of times when people see these things, if they hadn't thought about UFOs before, sometimes the first time they view one of these things, they think, wow, this had to be just a trick on my eyes. Maybe I was asleep. Maybe I was hallucinating. You know the expression, don't doubt your own lying eyes. I mean, this sounds to me like they had a real experience. And these orbs, typical orb behavior, just dancing around there, doing things that our aircraft could never do, almost like they're putting on a display for us. This next sighting is a commercial pilot sighting. Anytime I get a pilot sighting, I just love these because, you know, people have to spend a lot of money to get their pilot license. They have to demonstrate competence, at least at some level. And when they take the time to make a report like this, I really find it interesting. It carries a lot of weight with me. This one's dated December 1st, 2025, 9 p.m. local time. Duration approximately 20 minutes. Observers 2. It says pilot, military, law enforcement background. Location Jamestown, New York. Location details: airborne over southern Ontario, Canada. Shape light, color white. Estimated size indeterminate, viewed from aircraft. Direction from viewer 250 to 280 degrees. Angle of elevation 10 degrees. Closest distance indeterminate. Estimated speed extreme. Characteristics lights on object. 2 pilots, while flying a private jet at 43,000 feet observed three unidentified aerial objects in the night sky. The objects moved in coordination, changing formation from line abreast to irregular spacing. At times, individual lights would dim to the point of vanishing and then intensify again to a very bright level. All three objects remained above the horizon at approximately 10 degrees elevation. Their distance could not be determined. Despite traveling at approximately 450 knots ground speed, the aircraft never appeared to close the distance with the objects. The pilots noted that the objects could have been approximately 100 miles away at 60,000 feet or potentially further, possibly at extreme altitudes and distances, e.g., tens of miles high and thousands of miles away, potentially west of Portland, Oregon, over the eastern Pacific Ocean. If the objects were spaceborne, the variation in light intensity could not be explained solely by reflected sunlight. At the time of the sighting, the aircraft was traveling westbound at high altitude and clear air above an undercast layer topping out around 39,000 feet. Air traffic control was handled by Cleveland Center, ARTCC. The pilots queried the controller about the sighting. The controller acknowledged it and passed the inquiry to the next sector. Upon check-in via VHF, the subsequent controller asked the pilots to describe what they had observed. This was described as a highly unusual event involving three objects demonstrating extraordinary performance characteristics observed from a long and indeterminate range by two experienced pilots. Yeah, this sounds like a lot like these pilot sightings that we've been seeing all across the country. Almost like an orb sighting, but at very high altitudes. This sighting is dated October 8th, 2025, 9:19 p.m. Duration several minutes. Observers too. They got a video of this thing. There's background noise, but I don't think it's from this object flying. It looks to me like a strobe light on both sides of it, left and right, and they're really flashing. And the thing kind of slowly moves over the observer that got this video. Location, Narrowsburg, New York. Location details, driving between the towns of Ulan and Narrowsburg. Shape light, color red and white, initially described as red and green. Size approximately the length of a Ram 1500 truck. Viewed from land, direction from viewer, moved south to north, then circle back north to south. Approximately the length of a Ram 1500 truck. Again, far too big for a hobby drone. Angle of elevation 85 degrees. Closest distance approximately 500 to 1,000 feet. Estimated speed approximately 50 miles per hour. Explanation, possible drone. Yeah, I don't know. The witness reported a third encounter with a large drone-like object that appeared to follow and respond to their presence in the same general area. While driving home with her wife and young daughter after picking the wife up from work, the witness observed two lights emerging above the trees to the left of the road. The lights, described as red and green, were positioned at opposite ends of the dark craft, aligned in a row. The object initially appeared stationary at an estimated altitude of around 500 feet. Now, the lights you can see on this short video appear white to me, but there must have been other lights that they noticed. As the vehicle drew parallel to the object, it began moving rapidly toward the car. The witness pulled into the parking lot of a closed local bar and recorded video of the first sighting. The object then departed, traveling from south to north. After returning to the road, the witness continued scanning the sky and soon observed the object again on the right side of the road. It appeared to have made a large circular path and was now moving north to south. A second video was recorded as the object passed over the vehicle from right to left before disappearing beyond the tree line. The witness remained outside their home for several minutes afterward, but did not see the object again. The report was filed immediately following the incident. The witness noted ongoing intermittent sightings in the area over the past year. However, this was the first time since previous incidents that the object appeared to interact directly with them. The witness expressed uncertainty about whether the object was a commercial or military drone, but believed it to be human-operated rather than extraterrestrial. They also remarked that repeated encounters occurring in the presence of their child seemed unlikely to be coincidental. Well, these things, this one seems to be kind of giving off a weird vibe to this person, and I don't blame them one bit. The sightings dated October 6th, 2025, 8:27 p.m. Duration approximately 2 minutes. Observers 2. Location Skaneateles, New York. Location details: observed from a truck while driving along Highway 41A, adjacent to a field, possibly a cornfield. Shaped disc, flying saucer, color black. Estimated size approximately 40 feet in diameter, viewed from land. Direction from viewer: to the left side of the roadway over a field. Angle of elevation 45 degrees, closest distance approximately 100 feet, estimated speed stationary. Characteristic: lights on object changing colors. While driving along Highway 41A, 2 witnesses observed a large disc-shaped aerial object hovering low over a field beside the roadway. The object appeared to be approximately 40 feet in diameter, dark or black in color, with a smooth metallic surface and no visible seams, markings, wings, or propellers. The craft was completely silent. Despite the vehicle's windows being open, there was no engine noise, wind disturbance, or any other sound typically associated with an aircraft of that size. A prominent circular light was located near the center of the object. This light rotated or pulsed continuously and changed colors rapidly, cycling through the bright shades of red, purple, blue, green, and white. The intensity and rapid transitions of the light illuminated the field below in a vivid and unusual manner. The object remained stationary throughout the sighting. There were no signs of exhaust, smoke, or conventional propulsion. After a brief observation, the witness continued driving, at which point the object disappeared from view. Under additional observations, it says no other aircraft were visible in the area at the time. No unusual sounds, smells, or vibrations were detected. The light pattern and complete silence were inconsistent with known aircraft or typical drones. The sighting occurred on a calm fall night with no wind. Wow, it's almost like they see this flying saucer up there, 40 feet in diameter. That's a lot of mass to keep in the air like that without making any noise. I mean, I can tell you that. This sighting happened on September 28th, 2025, 10 p.m. Duration about 10 seconds. Observers 1, a pilot, it says. Location: Webster, New York. Shaped triangle. Color: dim with lights. Size: approximately the size of a small car, viewed from land. Direction from viewer: 80 degrees. Angle of elevation 45 degrees. Closest distance approximately 2,000 feet. Speed about 3 times faster than a typical aircraft. Characteristics: lights on object. The observer reported seeing a triangular formation of dim whitish lights while sitting in a backyard hot tub and watching the night sky. The lights did not resemble stars. Instead, they appeared similar to soft LED lights, like those on a ceiling. The formation was clearly structured in a triangular shape and moved as a single unit. The object approached from behind the observer's house and traveled in the direction of Rochester at a speed estimated to be approximately 3 times faster than a typical aircraft at cruising altitude. There was no audible sound associated with the object. It maintained a steady trajectory and speed until it moved out of view. Another one of these triangle sightings, and this is from a pilot. I mean, so I think they got a pretty good idea of distance and size and things like that. It's just that's what they're doing every day, is flying. This sighting happened on September 9th, 2025, 9 p.m. It says approximately 2 minutes. Observers 1, location New York, New York. Location details: Fordham Landing basketball courts. Shape unknown, color unknown, size unknown, viewed from land, direction from viewer southwest to northeast, angle of elevation 45 degrees, closest distance above Class B airspace, estimated speed variable, characteristics, lights on object. The observer reported a high altitude, unidentified aerial object in New York City airspace during nighttime conditions. On the evening of Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, at approximately 9 p.m., while seated at the Fordham Landing basketball courts, the observer sighted a bright object approaching from the southwest. The object appeared to be descending as it approached and then passed overhead, continuing toward the northeast. The object displayed a single, very bright white light located on what appeared to be its underside of forward-facing area. It lacked any discernible aviation safety lighting, such as anti-collision beacons or navigation lights. As the object passed over the observer's position, its forward motion seemed to slow. It then appeared to climb and abruptly extinguished its bright light, disappearing into the night sky. The total observation lasted approximately 2 minutes. The observer noted familiarity with local air traffic, including general aviation aircraft, law enforcement helicopters, and commercial traffic associated with Newark and LaGuardia airports. Typical aircraft in the area display standard navigation lights and beacons, which were not observed in this case. The light's brightness was comparable to aircraft landing lights, but remained steady without flashing or strobing. Due to the intensity of the light, the object's shape could not be determined. Ambient noise from nearby Interstate 87 limited the ability to detect any sound from the object. Under additional observations, it says the object's brightness and behavior were inconsistent with satellites, which typically move at constant speeds and appeared dimmer. The object appeared to be within the atmosphere but above Class B airspace, and no photos or video were taken, as the observer believed a recording would not capture useful detail. The observer submitted the report seeking a rational explanation and expressed a preference for written communication regarding any follow-up. Well, I hate to tell you, but a lot of times there is no what we would call rational explanation for these things. I mean, they're just there, and you can either accept them or you can continue on in denial. We'll go ahead and do 3 more here and wrap this up. This sighting is dated November 25th, 2024, 10:10 p.m. Duration at least 20 to 25 minutes. Observers 2. Location Syosset, New York. Location details LIU Post, Greenville to Split Rock Road in Syosset along Route 25A. Shape unknown, color unknown. Estimated size approximately the size of a Cessna aircraft. Viewed from land. Direction from viewer northwest. Angle of elevation 45 degrees. Closest distance approximately 100 to 200 feet. That's pretty close. Speed unknown. Explanation possible drone. Characteristics lights on object. On the night of November 25th, 2024, the witness was leaving work at the LIU Post Tilly's Center in Greenville, Nassau County, shortly after 10 p.m. While waiting at the exit to turn onto Northern Boulevard, which is Route 25A, eastbound toward Syosset, the witness observed what initially appeared to be a helicopter hovering above a dense tree line north of the roadway. The witness briefly considered whether an emergency response was underway near Cedar Swamp Road. However, the witness noted an absence of expected rotor noise. With the vehicle windows rolled down and very little traffic in the area, the object produced no discernible sound. Now, right there, that rules out drones to me. After the traffic light turned green, the witness continued driving east. Within approximately 30 seconds, another similar object emerged from the trees. The witness briefly considered investigating, but continued driving home. At the intersection of Wolver Hollow Road and Route 25A, the witness stopped at a red light and observed a stationary object hovering above the roadway. The object emitted a very bright white light that briefly illuminated the vehicle interior. At this point, the witness determined the object was not a helicopter, but rather a Cessna medium-sized fixed-wing airplane-shaped craft. It appeared to include a lit panel with a checkered pattern extension. The witness, familiar with various types of drones, consumer, commercial, and military, ruled out a common hobby in commercial drones due to the object's size and brightness, though military classification could not be confirmed. The object then turned and proceeded northwest. The witness considered whether it might be circling, but judged its speed to be inconsistent with known aircraft performance of that size. Shortly afterward, between Cedar Swamp Road and Split Rock Road, the witness observed 3 additional identical objects emerging from the tree line south of Route 25A and moving northwest toward the first object. After arriving home, the witness contacted the Nassau County 2nd Precinct to inquire about possible aircraft activity or testing in the area. The objects were initially described as drones. The police stated they had no information and logged the report. The following day, the witness reviewed media reports of similar sightings in New Jersey and noticed similarities to what had been observed on Long Island. The witness later contacted the Morris County, New Jersey Sheriff's Office and additional federal agencies, including the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, to report the sighting. The witness also discussed the event with co-workers, one of whom reportedly observed similar objects from a comparable vantage point while traveling between LIU and Huntington, estimating a total of approximately 6 objects observed. The witness expressed frustration that subsequent media coverage largely focused on New Jersey while omitting Long Island reports. Multiple attempts to contact local media outlets received no response. The witness concluded by questioning why. If investigations were ongoing, no attempts appeared to have been made to track or follow the objects to a landing location. That's a very good question. A lot of us have asked this. If you're doing an investigation, shouldn't you track where these things came from and where they landed at? Just goes to show these things are still consistently happening. This is fall, November 2024, but I mean, even today we're getting reports of these things. This sighting is dated December 21st, 2024, 8:47 p.m. Duration at least 4 minutes. Observers 4, Rochester, New York. Location details: Charlotte area, Harding Road and North Burley Road vicinity near Lake Avenue. Shape other, color orange, reddish. Estimated size approximately 7 to 10 feet in circumference viewed from land. Direction from viewer facing north. Angle of elevation 45 degrees. Closest distance approximately 300 to 500 yards. Estimated speed approximately 200 miles per hour with sudden drops, rapid changes. Characteristics or haze around object aircraft nearby. On December 21st, 2024 at approximately 8:30 p.m., the witness observed a reddish object while driving home in the Charlotte neighborhood of Rochester, New York. Approximately 13 minutes later, at around 8:43 p.m., the object was again observed from the driveway near Harding Road and North Burley Road, where the witness and 2 nephews were present. The object also was recorded on video. The object appeared as a bright reddish orange, self-illuminating spherical form. It pulsed as it moved across the sky. At one point, it descended rapidly, abruptly reversed direction by approximately 180 degrees, then ascended vertically in a manner inconsistent with conventional aircraft behavior. The motion was extremely rapid and erratic, making it difficult to track visually and on camera. During the recording, the witness initially mistook an approaching aircraft for a commercial plane. Upon reviewing the footage, it appeared to be a large helicopter moving near the pulsing orange object. As the helicopter approached, the object appeared to extinguish or disappear from view. The sighting began above a large tree near Harding and North Burley Road, with the object moving primarily eastward and eventually crossing over the Genesee River. The witness stated familiarity with the conventional aircraft and noted that the observed motion, speed, and flight behavior did not resemble any known drone, helicopter, or airplane. Wow. Nuforc note, this report was highlighted due to the unusual interaction between the object and a nearby helicopter, as well as the object's apparent response. Yeah, I guess so. They've got some screenshots of this thing, and I don't know. I mean, you can definitely see this orange orb they're talking about, and then what looks like the lights from a helicopter. It's wild stuff. We'll do one last one here. This last sighting happened on February 24th, 2025, dated 6:35 p.m. Observers 2 lasted for about 40 seconds. Location, Huntington, New York. Shape, orb. Color, bright warm white. Size, it says uncertain, possibly the size of a car, viewed from land. Direction from viewer northwest. Angle of elevation 45 degrees, approximately 500 to 1,000 feet away. Speed uncertain, but it matched the helicopter speed, it says. Characteristics, aircraft nearby. Description, a Black Hawk helicopter, later confirmed via public flight data, appeared to be pursuing a brilliant white orb. The witness believes this sighting may be related to previously reported drone incidents in the region. After posting the account on Reddit, another user identified the helicopter's flight data using a publicly accessible tracking system. The flight path is referenced here, and then they give the coordinates. At approximately 6:35 p.m., the witness had heard an unusually loud helicopter through closed windows while eating dinner with family. Look, if you've ever seen one of these military helicopters, all the ones that I've seen make a lot of noise. The witness went outside to the back porch and within seconds observed what was clearly a helicopter based on rotor noise and red blinking lights. At first, nothing appeared unusual. For the first few seconds, the helicopter was visually obstructed by a row of approximately 70-foot tall pine trees along the back of the property, about 60 yards from the observer's position. This detail helped establish the aircraft's apparent height and distance. The helicopter was traveling west to east over the yard, having just cleared the tree line. It was flying significantly above the trees, but below typical commercial air traffic altitude. The witness described it as resembling a news or police helicopter, operating it at a relatively low altitude. The witness observed the helicopter for approximately 3 to 5 seconds as it continued in a straight line overhead. At that point, it had crossed about halfway across the sky above the yard and was clearly identifiable as a helicopter. Nothing initially appeared unusual. However, shortly thereafter, an extremely bright, warm white spherical light suddenly appeared, approximately 10 to 15 helicopter lengths ahead of the aircraft, directly along its flight path. Based on the witness perspective of altitude, distance, and motion, they believe the white light originated from a separate object, with the helicopter actively pursuing it. Despite its otherwise mundane description, a helicopter and a light in the night sky, the event was described as highly shocking. The witness reacted verbally and remained observing until their child came outside and saw the objects also briefly before they moved beyond the backyard view. The witness and family then moved to the front of the house where they observed the objects for a few additional seconds as they passed between tree lines across the street. The white light remained extremely bright and noticeably larger than the typical aircraft lighting. It appeared as a self-contained glowing sphere, then a directional or spotlight type illumination. The witness emphasized its unusual visual quality and the fact that it appeared suddenly after being completely invisible moments earlier. The witness estimates a total observation time of approximately 10 seconds across both viewing locations. The angle of elevation varied as the objects passed overhead. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, imagine going out in your yard, you hear this helicopter flying over and think, well, I guess we're just cruising over. And then you see this large white orb right there in the flight line of the helicopter. It's almost like it wants to be seen by the helicopter. I don't know if it's playing tag or threatening it or what's going on here, but just goes to show some of these really fascinating sightings that are happening in New York and the UFOs that are being seen over New York. It's an ongoing thing. Hey, if you like the program, don't forget to hit like, follow, subscribe. It doesn't cost a dime. Also, leave a review. Really helps. Until next time, this is UFO Warning. Over and out.